The first words that came out of my mouth when I opened the box were, "Whoa, this is good." This is the Furlan Marri Salmon sector. I like it, and I honestly wasn't expecting to. If you don't know already, Furlan Marri is a Swiss watch brand founded very recently in 2021 in Geneva by André Furlan, a Swiss industrial designer, and Hamad Al Marri, a watch collector and artist from Saudi Arabia. From its inception, the brand has distinguished itself with its vintage-inspired watches, detailed craftsmanship, and accessible pricing. Full transparency. This watch was sent to me by Furlan Marri for the purposes of a review, but they have zero say in what I'm about to tell you. These are my honest thoughts, same as always. I'm not paid or any way compensated by Furlan Marri, monetarily or otherwise, for talking about this watch. I don't get to keep the watch either, and by the time you see the review on YouTube, this watch is already back with Furlan Marri. So what was it about this timepiece that got to me? It's not like Furlan Marri is reinventing the wheel. Their designs draw from classic watches that usually cost tens of thousands, pieces most of us can only dream of. But somehow they bottled that vibe. The finish, the feel, it's emotionally compelling. Right out of the box, it feels like it costs way more than it does. But more on that a bit later. First, let's do the numbers. The steel case is 37.5 millimeters across and has a very reasonable 46 millimeters lug to lug. It's just 10.5 millimeters thick, including the sapphire crystal, and it has a water resistance of 50 meters, which is more than enough for a sharp dress watch like this. There's a lot of good here in my opinion, only one bad. First, the good stuff. You've got a 38.5 millimeter steel case, which is pretty much the perfect size for a watch like this. It's also only 10.5 millimeters thick, including the sapphire crystal, which is a height I really appreciate, especially on dressier pieces. Kudos to Furlan Marri, they have nailed the finishing too. Instead of just picking one technique, they used a mix of satin brushing and mirror polishing on the case. That contrast between brushing and polishing alone, and how it's been executed, can play a big role on how premium a watch looks. Furlan Marri did a great job here, and it is what makes the sector feel so much more premium than simpler all brushed or all polished finished watches. Here's a small detail I really appreciated. They used satin brushing on the flat top side of the bezel instead of high polish. It's a smart move. It keeps the watch looking refined but without throwing a bunch of glare and reflections when looking at the time. But the real standout feature here are the lugs. These are Corne de Vache style lugs, inspired by some classic Vacheron Constantin watches. They have this graceful organic curve to them that I find so much more interesting and elegant than the straight lugs you see on a lot of Bauhaus watches. Now the dial. This is where the watch gets its name and personality. It's a sector dial, and the layout is just beautiful. Classic, clean, and incredibly legible. The salmon color is soft and warm, though it can look pretty pink under certain light. It has a subtle grain texture that gives it depth, so it's never flat or boring. And I love that the only text there is the logo. Nothing else clutters it up. The printed minute track is sharp and crisp, and the applied Breguet numerals are a fantastic choice. The leaf-style hands are a perfect match to those Breguet numerals. There's just the right amount of classic elegance to this piece, without looking dated. Now I'll be honest, when I first saw pictures of this watch, I wasn't sold on the black against salmon. Something about it looked off to me, but having it here in front of me, they were absolutely right. And besides the polished finish, which at this point is being overdone, I can't see any other finish on the hands and Arabics that could have worked better on this piece. The polished steel with black gunmetal PVD Arabics and hands stands in perfect contrast to the matte salmon dial. It's a combination straight out of classic haute horology, and it works. The quick release strap is another win. It's a dark olive green leather that's supple right from the start. The color complements the warm salmon dial beautifully, and besides maybe a black color, I can't imagine a better pairing. The straps are also curved to sit flush with the case for a clean, integrated look. Here's the clever detail. The lugs have 2 holes on each side. That means you can use standard straight-ended aftermarket straps without getting them hung up on the case. That kind of thoughtful detail shows that the designers at Furlan Marri were focused on nailing the aesthetics and functionality of this watch. The strap tapers from 20mm down to 16mm at the side buckle, which makes this watch wear lighter and more comfortable. In fact, the whole package is so well balanced, I forgot I was wearing the watch a few times throughout the day. So no complaints here, none at all. Flipping the watch over, we get to see the beautiful Le Jouperet automatic movement through the sapphire open case back. That's right, this isn't a quartz or a mecha quartz watch. It's powered by a Le Jouperet G100 automatic movement. It's a high-quality Swiss workhorse caliber. Think of it as LJP's answer to the ETA 2824 or Sellita SW200. But this is not a clone. It's their own design, and this is the top-tier G100. Decoration on this movement includes Geneva stripes, blued screws, polished chamfers, and curved bridge edges. It beats the frequency of 4 Hz and has an impressive power reserve of 68 hours. And I measured a perfect accuracy on my time grapher. Look, all this is impressive, but I have to mention one drawback. And to be fair, it's a small one. I care a lot about movement quality. It's a big part of how I judge a watch. And my main issue here is with the rotor noise. It's quite noisy when it spins. The crown winding also feels a bit grainy and unrefined. Here's some context without going too far down the rabbit hole. As mentioned, the movement inside is made by Le Jouperet, which is part of the Citizen Group. Essentially, it's a Swiss modified version of the Miura 9 series movement, with an upgraded Etachron regulator and a KIF shock protection system, which are great improvements, but they kept a similar rotor design as the Miura. And that's the heart of the issue. The Miura 9 series calibers are pretty well known in the watch world for having a loud unidirectional rotor. The G100 follows in those footsteps, albeit with better finishing and regulation. If that doesn't bother you, you're fine. But personally, I would have loved to see Furlan Marri use the hand-wound 7001 caliber from their Disco Volante model instead. That movement has been reworked internally by redesigning all the bridges, and it features high-end finishing done by hand in Geneva. It's exceptional. Of course, that kind of craftsmanship would have driven the price up significantly, so I get why they didn't use that caliber here. But a guy can dream, right? Besides that minor gripe I have with the movement, and to be fair, it's more of a design trait than a flaw you can pin on Furlan Marri, the quality of this timepiece is undeniable. There's just not much to complain about. It's a solid dress watch put together in a great package for someone that wants that vintage aesthetic in a modern watch. I really like it. The overall design, the elegant curve of the lugs, the clean dial layout, those Breguet numerals, so much of this watch just works for me. A sincere thanks to Furlan Marri for sending it over. Like I said, I didn't expect to be this impressed. Photos are one thing, but holding it is something else entirely. And after wearing it on and off for the past 2 weeks, I know I'm going to miss it when it's gone. Alright everyone, that's all I have for you today. If this review helped you out, hit that like button and consider subscribing. Happy watch hunting, and I'll catch you in the next one.